In Beijing, a powerful and symbolic moment unfolded as Russian President Vladimir Putin took the stage alongside Chinese leadership to deliver a speech that is already making headlines across the world. His message was clear, bold, and aimed at reshaping how global politics are perceived. Many analysts are calling it a turning point in international relations, as Putin highlighted what he described as the highest level of Russia-China unity in modern history. The West, already wary of the growing closeness between Moscow and Beijing, sees this as a direct challenge to the dominance it has enjoyed for decades. But to millions of people around the globe, including many in the Muslim world, this new chapter may open doors toward a more balanced, multipolar system that prioritizes fairness, respect, and cooperation. When Putin spoke in Beijing, his tone was confident, and his words were chosen carefully. He praised the unprecedented level of coordination between Russia and China, not only in terms of economics but also in matters of defense, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. For Russia, which has faced years of sanctions, criticism, and isolation from Western powers, this partnership is a strategic lifeline. For China, standing beside Russia signals strength and determination in the face of mounting pressure from the United States and its allies. Together, their unity signals the possibility of an emerging global order where no single bloc or alliance holds all the power. This is important because the current world system, dominated largely by Western powers, has often failed to address the concerns of developing nations, including many Muslim-majority countries. From wars in the Middle East to economic sanctions that harm ordinary people, the existing power balance has repeatedly left Muslim nations feeling sidelined. Putin's message in Beijing carried an undertone that resonated with those who are tired of seeing one-sided policies and double standards. By aligning with China, Russia is effectively saying that smaller nations no longer have to bow to a single pole of influence. They can now look to new partners who offer alternatives. Economics was at the center of the discussion. Putin emphasized how trade between Russia and China has reached historic levels. Energy is a huge factor here, with Russia supplying China with oil, gas, and other resources that keep its industries running. In return, China provides Russia with goods, investments, and access to global markets that were cut off due to sanctions. Together, they are building new transport corridors, financial systems independent of Western banks, and ambitious infrastructure projects like railroads and energy pipelines. This is not just about two countries trading more. It's about creating an entire system that challenges Western dominance over global finance and commerce. For ordinary viewers, it might seem like technical economic jargon, but the reality is simple. Russia and China are designing an economic safety net that could one day include many other countries. For Muslim nations that often struggle under unfair trade restrictions or find themselves pressured to choose sides, this could be a game changer. Imagine a world where an oil-exporting country in the Middle East can sell its energy without fear of sudden sanctions, or where developing nations in Asia and Africa can trade freely without being controlled by Western banking systems. Putin's speech signaled that this vision is becoming more realistic. Beyond economics, security and defense cooperation was another theme that Putin touched upon. While he did not make direct threats or announce any military moves, the symbolism was strong. Russia and China have been holding joint military exercises, coordinating on technology, and presenting a united front against what they describe as destabilizing actions by outside powers. This matters because it changes the calculation for conflicts worldwide. If in the past the West could act unilaterally, now it must consider that any action against one of these rising powers could provoke a response from both. For Muslims living in conflict zones, the possibility of a more balanced power structure may bring some hope. For decades, wars and interventions have taken place with little regard for the suffering of ordinary people. Countries like Iraq, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, and Palestine have seen how one-sided interventions destroy lives. A stronger Russia-China partnership could at least make interventions harder to carry out, giving vulnerable nations a better chance to negotiate peace rather than being forced into submission. Another interesting part of Putin's speech was cultural diplomacy. He mentioned how Russia and China are not only cooperating in politics and economics, but also in culture, science, and education. This soft power approach is often underestimated, yet it is crucial in shaping long-term relationships. Exchange programs, joint scientific projects, and cultural initiatives help build trust between people, not just governments. For Muslim countries, partnerships like these could provide opportunities for students, researchers, and cultural institutions to find new platforms beyond the West. Many young Muslims aspire for better education and technological growth, and alliances like this can provide fresh avenues without the political strings that often come attached. The West's reaction to Putin's speech has been cautious, but alarmed. Media outlets highlighted words like unprecedented and unbreakable, warning that such closeness could destabilize the existing world order. Western governments worry that Russia and China together could create rival systems in finance, technology, and security that reduce Western influence. But from the perspective of many countries in the global South, including the Muslim world, this could be a welcome change. A world where power is spread out more evenly could mean fewer wars, fairer trade, and greater respect for sovereignty. Of course, there are also challenges. Not every Muslim country may fully trust Russia or China, given their own histories. Some will be cautious, remembering that major powers always act in their own interests first. But there is no denying that this partnership creates new possibilities. Nations long pressured to align with one side may now have more freedom to pursue their own policies. For example, Gulf countries that depend on Western military protection but also trade heavily with China may see new options. Central Asian Muslim republics, many of which share borders with Russia and have strong cultural ties, could strengthen regional cooperation. Even countries in Africa, many of which are Muslim majority, could benefit from infrastructure projects supported by this alliance. When we look closely, Putin's speech was not just about Russia and China. It was about presenting an alternative to the current global system. He framed it as a message of respect, equality, and partnership. To ordinary people, this may sound abstract, but its effects can reach into daily life. If a Muslim farmer in Pakistan gains access to new trade routes, or a student in Egypt can study in Moscow or Beijing without restrictions, these are practical benefits of multipolar cooperation. If war is prevented in a region because major powers balance each other out, that is a blessing that communities will feel directly. Another factor to consider is how this alliance relates to global technology. Russia and China are investing heavily in artificial intelligence, 5G, space exploration, and advanced weapons systems. These are areas where Western nations have dominated for years. By pooling resources, Moscow and Beijing hope to catch up and even lead in some areas. For Muslim countries, many of which are still developing technologically, partnerships with these rising powers could bring access to new innovations, training, and industries. Instead of relying only on Western tech giants, they might be able to build their own systems with support from new partners. In addition, Putin stressed the importance of sovereignty and non-interference. This is a point that resonates deeply across the Muslim world, where foreign interventions have repeatedly disrupted societies. The idea that nations should solve their problems internally without outside interference is appealing. If Russia and China truly adhere to this principle, it could set a precedent that benefits countries struggling to maintain independence in the face of external pressures. The speech also highlighted energy cooperation. Energy is the lifeline of modern economies, and many Muslim-majority nations are rich in oil and gas. The Russia-China partnership shows that energy producers and consumers can form stable, long-term relationships outside Western-dominated systems. This is particularly important for countries under sanctions or political pressure. By joining hands with new partners, they can secure their economic future without being forced into dependency. Finally, there is the symbolic aspect. A Russian leader speaking in Beijing and declaring unprecedented unity is not just about politics. It's about sending a message that the world is changing. For decades, the narrative has been that only the West defines progress, sets the rules, and decides who is right or wrong. Now, another vision is being put forward, one that claims to respect diversity, sovereignty, and cooperation. For Muslims, who often feel their voices are ignored in global decision-making, this shift could mean a chance to be heard, to form alliances on equal footing, and to protect their interests more effectively.